This is Chintan Patel and welcome back to the video lecture series of the Fundamental of Machine Design. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the eccentric loading and example based on this concept. This is the very general topic which is generally seen in our working conditions where the loads are not applied on the axis of the components, and in that particular case whenever then eccentricity is there in during the loading condition, then you will have to use this concept to solve the stress analysis concepts. Okay, so let's get started with the first slide. As we can see, this is the theoretical portion of the eccentric loading where we will learn about the concept of the eccentric loading. So whenever an external load whose line of action is parallel but does not coincide with the centroidal axis of the machine component, this type of a load is applied on the body. That load is known as an eccentric load. But the distance between the centroidal axis of the machine component and the eccentric load is known as the eccentricity. It is known as eccentricity. So there are two definitions in this paragraph. The first one is the eccentric load and the second one is the eccentricity, and the notation of the eccentricity is E, and we can denote the load as a normal load or any force such as a P or F. The example of the eccentric loading from the subject point of view are clamps, punching machines, brackets and offset connecting links, etc. So these are the examples which we are going to see in our examples or numericals, where you will learn the application of this concept eccentric loading, and these two definitions which we have just learned can be asked in your examination into the 1 or 2 marks. So we will see how these definitions are connected with the theory like this from this diagram. As you can see, one component of the rectangular cross section and a rectangular shape is considered as a specimen. This is our machine component having the rectangular shape. So what we are going to do is we will first identify its centroidal axis. So centroidal axis is the axis which passes from the center of the component, and the center of the component is over here. So this y-axis is its centroidal axis, and after identifying the centroidal axis, now we will consider the line of action of the load which is applied on the component. So the load which is applied on the component is the P or a force P. So this is the load which is applied on the component. As you can see, the line of action of the component is over here. So this is the line of action. This is the line of action of the force which is applied on the component. As it is clearly seen, it seems clearly that there is a distance between the centroidal axis and the line of action of the force, and we can say that that this distance is known as an eccentricity as per our definition. So this is our distance eccentricity, and it is denoted by E, which is written over here in this diagram. Now what we are going to do, we are going to consider two different forces. Now let's say this is the P force, and we are considering the two different forces, but those are having the magnitude equal to P1 equals to P and P2 equals to P. So we know that the P1 and P2, these two forces P1 and P2 are having the magnitude equals to P. So magnitude of all the three forces that are represented in the second diagram are having the same magnitude. Now what we are going to do, we are going to apply those two forces in the exactly opposite directions and with the same line of action. So as you can see, P1 and P2, both the forces are applied on the opposite direction. P1 is upside down and P2 is upward direction. So both the forces are applied in a opposite direction, and that's why we can say that these two forces are not causing any disturbance into the system, or not they are not causing any imbalance in the system. Your system is still equivalent with the first system. These two systems are still equivalent systems. Okay, so this could be done using the principle of superposition, that we can add two equal and opposite forces into the system or remove the system without causing any changes into the system. So these two systems are equal. Now what we are going to do, we are going to separate the effect of all these three forces. So first we are considering the only one force that is applied axially, that is P1 equals to P. So this P1 is applied axially, and we know the effect of the axial loading. So axial load will create the bending, will create the normal stress into the body, and the normal stress is represented by sigma, which is represented in this diagram as represented like this. But as you can see, this diagram contains the force which is having the nature of compression. So if it is a compressive force, then your diagram will be in the negative direction, or we can say that if this is the neutral line, then your diagram will be on the negative side. So this is the negative side, or it is represented in the downside of the neutral line, or zero, or a reference line. Okay, so this is the normal stress generated due to the axial loading. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to find the separate effect of the two different forces which were left in the first effect. These two forces are the P and P2. As you can see, the P2 is having the magnitude of equals to P, and P, both the forces which are of the equal magnitude and in the opposite direction but of same different line of action, will cause the couple into this system. So these two forces are causing the couple in the system, and if it is the couple, then you can say that your body is going to rotate because it is the effect of the couple. But what happens if we just restrict the motion of the rotational motion of your component, then your component is going to bend, and as it is bending, then you can say that it is bending in the clockwise direction. Then your component is, if it is bending, its new position will be like this. Its new position will be like this. Okay, so as you can see, if it is the new position or effect after the bending, then this trend is facing the tension, this is the tensile side and this is the compression side. So as this is the tension side, so left side is represented above the reference line, or we can say that this is the positive side. Okay, and this is represented below the reference line because it is having the nature of a compression, and that's why we can represent it in the negative side. So this is a negative. Okay, so that's why we have represented both the stresses of equal magnitude and in the opposite direction because of its nature. Now what we are going to do, we are going to combine the effect of the couple and the axial load. So if we combine the effect of the couple and the axial load in this diagram, then we can say that this is the half portion, and in this half region, the left side diagram represents that there is a negative stress, and this diagram represents that there is a positive stress, and the combination of this algebraic sum will be represented by the sigma b minus sigma, and this is represented in the upside. But if your answer comes in a negative, then you can represent it in a negative side, but it will not happen like this because the cumulative effect will be in the bending, and bending is always in the opposite side. Okay, so this is the final effect of the sigma b minus sigma 0 and the left at the left fiber, and on the right fiber the cumulative effect is quite a algebraic sum of these two forces, which is sigma b plus sigma 0 or sigma a or a sigma axial. Okay, so this is a cumulative effect or the combined effect. Now using those two equations, we are going to consider both the equation on the compression and the tension. So compression equation is represented in this equation like this, which is the sigma c equals to P E by C upon I. This is nothing but the my by I. This is the moment. So my by I plus P by A, that is the basic formula of the axial stress, and this is the basic formula of the bending stress. So the combination of both the stresses will give you the answer like this. So this is the total compression stress on the right strand, which is equals to sigma b plus sigma 0. Similarly, total tension strength will be equals to sigma b minus sigma 0. So this is the basic theory, and what we are going to do, we are going to solve one example so that you can understand how we are going to apply this concept into our working conditions. So this is the example. As you can see, an offset link subjected to a force of a 25 kilonewton. So this is the force which is applied on the component, or then we will see whether it is passing from the axis of the component or not. And if it is not passing, then we can identify this example as the example of eccentric loading. Okay, so this is the identification of this example. Now it is made up of the gray cast iron, cast iron FG360. The factor of safety is 3, and determine the dimensions of the cross section of the link. So this is the given data. As you can see, the force is 25. SUT for the cast iron is given as a 360. Okay, this will be in the Newton per mm square. Factor of safety is given as 3. So if the ultimate strength of the material is 360 Newton per mm square, then we can find out the permissible stress using the factor of safety and this equation, that is sigma permissible or sigma allowable equals to SUT upon factor of safety. So sigma permissible is equals to 360 upon 3, and answer will be 120 Newton per mm square. Now you can see this diagram. In this diagram, the force is applied like this. This diagram is provided into the example, and the P equals to 25 kilonewton is given. As you can see, the axis of the link is over here. So if this is the axis, then the force, line of action of the force and the axis are different, and we can say that it is applied from some distance, eccentricity E, and that's why this is the eccentric loading example. Now first what we need to find out the eccentricity E. So this distance is given as a 10. This is also known as a swing of the link. Okay, so they might ask you using the different terms in your examination. So this distance is known as a swing of the link. So this is the swing of the link, and this distance can be calculated using the geometry. As you can see, the cross section area is given as a rectangular, and this cross section area is having the height of 2t. This is the height of the cross section area. Then definitely this distance will be equals to t. Okay, so this is the distance t. So what we have learned, we learned that the eccentricity of the load is this much eccentricity, and this eccentricity can be calculated using the summation of this distance and this distance, which is nothing but t plus 10. Now what we are going to do, we are going to find out first the tensile stress, which is the direct stress or the axial stress. So axial stress formula is simple, that is force upon area. The cross section area is given, which is rectangular, and that's why cross section area is 2t into t, and that's why your final answer would be in terms of t square like this. Now what we are going to do, we have already calculated the eccentricity E. Then what we will calculate the bending moment M. Bending moment M is nothing but the force into eccentricity E. So this was the eccentricity, that is T 10 plus T, and into the force will give you the answer in terms of the Newton into mm. Now Y value which is required in this equation can be calculated. Y is nothing but the distance from the neutral axis to the extreme fiber. So as you can see, this is the cross section area, then the neutral axis passes from the center, and this is the extreme fiber. So distance between these two fibers is represented by y. So y is nothing but a t. Now I equals to the moment of inertia. Moment of inertia of the cross section is bd cube by 12. Now what is b? B is given in the diagram, that is t, and d is given as a 2t. So bd cube by 12, that is a t into 2t cube by 12, that is our I. Now we will put all these values into our example in our equation. That is a very simple basic equation. Since the cross section is symmetrical about the neutral axis, and that's why we can consider it as a sigma b equals to sigma compression. So sigma b equals to that is equals to my by I, and my by I equals to this, and this will be considered as will be substituted in this equation. The total stress is equals to tensile or the axial stress plus bending stress. The bending stress which is represented in this equation will be substituted over here in terms of t. Now as you can see, this equation, if you simplify, we will get in terms of t square and t cube. Then what we will have to do, we will have to take the LCM, and by taking the LCM you will simplify can simplify this equation in terms of the cubic equation. Now this is our cubic equation, and after solving this equation you will get the answer of the cross section area. But first you need to solve this equation by the trial and error method, and after solving this equation you will get the answer of the T, that is the 23.45 is equals to 24 mm, and this will give you the design, this will help you to design the cross section area, that is the T and 2T. So cross section dimensions are calculated which were required, which was asked in your example. With this we conclude our lecture over here, and we will see few more concepts in the upcoming lectures. Till then, thank you.